Good evening and welcome to the year-end edition of What's Up at Sea Tranquility. I'm your host, Pete Pardo. Today is Saturday, December the 24th. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody. As we mentioned last week on our kind of pre-holiday end-of-the-year special at Rock Fantasy, once again thanks to Steve Keeler, Butch Jones, Nick Franco, and Ryan Scal for their help last week. It was a great time as we ran through our top picks of the year, but of course, had to save the best for last. So today is the last show of the year. I'm going to run through my top 10 albums of the year in the genres of heavy metal, progressive rock, classic rock, hard rock, jazz fusion. You know we cover it all. So we're going to run through, again, my top 10 of the year. If you go onto the website at www.seatranquility.org, you can see my top 50 releases of the year. Right now we're going to concentrate on the top 10. So coming in at number 10, and this was an album that came out late in the year. This is from a guy who has been pretty prolific on the progressive rock scene over the last 20 years. I'm talking about Neil Morse and the Neil Morse Band, The Similitude of a Dream. This is a brand new release. You can check that out right there. So, you know, it's Neil and Mike Portnoy, ex-drummer of Dream Theater, and a bunch of other folks. 2-disc concept album. Really, really good stuff. Takes a lot of the classic prog sounds of the 70s with the more recent progressive rock stuff of the last 20 years. You know, as far as epic concept albums go, this is one of the best of the year. You know, Portnoy's former band Dream Theater did their album earlier this year. This is much better. If you want to, you know, really get into some good classic progressive rock, this is the way to go. It's kind of heavy in spots. It's symphonic. You know, you've got Neil's great vocals, great guitar work, keyboards, drumming. The melodies are all there. It's can't say enough about this. You know, better late than never, I always say. Came out late in the year, but it crept into my top 10 very, very quickly. So, Neil Morse Band, The Similitude of a Dream, coming in at number 10. Number 9. You know, this is a band who have been around. You know, they kind of kick-started the whole progressive metal movement back in the early, mid-'80s. And, you know, along with Dream Theater, kind of like kick-started that whole kind of sub-genre in the 80s and early 90s. And I'm talking about Fate's Warning. And, you know, their latest this year, for my money, is the best thing they've done in about 10 or 15 years. And it's just, you know, everything that you like about Fate's Warning, those kick-ass vocals and the challenging arrangements, memorable songs. It's just everything you want out of a progressive metal band nowadays. And, you know, when you got one of the leaders of the genre doing it, it's memorable and it's one of the best of the year. I've probably listened to this more than any of their most recent albums in recent years, and you know, usually when something like that happens, it's a release that kind of stays with you and winds up in a show like what we're doing today. So again, Fate's Warning, good job, guys. Coming in at number 8, so let's go way, way back in time. So 1969. 1970, 1971. There's this little band out of San Francisco who in 1969 performed at Woodstock, and they kind of took the world by storm after that performance, of course made famous in the Woodstock film, but then they released a string of albums that just kind of bridged like Latin rhythms and hard rock and pop and jazz, and of course we're talking about Santana, right? So there was this classic lineup on those first few albums. Carlos Santana on guitar, Greg Raleigh on keyboards and vocals, Michael Carabella on percussion, eventually Neil Schon on guitar, who went on to form Journey, obviously, Michael Shreve on drums. That is considered the nucleus of the Santana band back in the early 70s. So that band eventually split. Carlos Santana kept the band going for many, many decades, various lineups, but not until this year did that nucleus get back together to record a new album. Did some touring as well. The resulting album is called Santana 4. Okay, Santana 4, because the last album these guys did together was Santana 3. So here we are decades later, Santana 4. In addition to Benny Retveld on bass, as well as Carl Peraza, also on drums and percussion. And I got to tell you, it's as if 1972 never ended, and they just kind of came out with this. It's got all the elements you want, you know, the dueling guitars of Santana and Sean, Greg Raleigh's Hammond organ and vocals, all those great Latin rhythms. You know, they always talk about how, you know, the albums that stay with you. And granted, this might not be the first Santana album, or Abraxas, or Santana 3. Those are classics. But this is not that far removed from it. So, yeah, coming in at number 8, Santana 4. Dig it a lot. And I saw them on the tour, and it was mind-blowing. So, if they do it again, and I've heard that they might be doing some more touring with this lineup, go check them out. All right, coming in at number 7. Going to Sweden now. It is called, you know, here's the problem. I'm not wearing my glasses. Violet Sleep of Reason. The Sugar from Sweden, extreme metal band. You know, this is probably their heaviest album ever. And my buddy Butch Jones, also on Sea of Tranquility, this was #1 release of the year, and I dug it. Whether it's the best album they've ever done, I'll leave it up to you. Probably the heaviest album they've done, or top 2 or 3, but just killer songs. You know, the instrumentation is just heavy. It's intricate. The drumming is off the charts, and it's a brutal album. It really, really is. And I dug it quite a lot. Of course, they're on Nuclear Blast Records, so is my number 7. Going to number 6, thrash album of the year. You know, in a year that we've had some really good releases from Germany's Destruction, Megadeth from the U.S., you know, you've had Metallica's album, which came out very late in the year, that caused a lot of commotion. You know, a lot of really good thrash releases from the old guard of thrash. Well, for my money, the best thrash album of the year. You know, I don't want to forget Flotsam and Jetsam as well. It's another one I wanted. They just missed my top list here, but another really good one. But for me, the best one of the entire year was Brotherhood of the Snake by the Bay Area's Testament. I mean, you know, Chuck Billy, Alex Skolnick, Mr. Peterson, Steve DiGiorgio on bass, Gene Hoglan, for crying out loud, on drums. They are a supergroup. They are a thrash supergroup. They always have been. This album just continues on with the hot streak they've been going. It's just some of the best Bay Area classic thrash of any band going. Riffs aplenty, vocals are brutal, songs are memorable. You know, it just can't go wrong. So, you know, I knew that as soon as I heard this for the first time, I knew this was going to wind up in my top 10 of the year, and of course, there it is. So, from there, we're going to go, what are we up to here? Number 6? Number 6, right? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay, so this one is from a guy who has been around since the early 70s. He is probably one of the most recognizable vocalists ever in hard rock since his days with Trapeze and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath. He's played with Gary Moore. He's played with Mr. Thrall. He's played with Black Country Communion. You know who I'm talking about. It's the voice of rock. Len Hughes. It's Resonate for Frontiers Records. The best solo album of his career. It's heavy. It's funky. It's groovy. Memorable melodies. His vocals are off the charts. His bass playing is killer as always. He's got a great backing band. You know, I don't know what else to say. This guy is in his mid-60s, and, you know, he just continues to show guys half his age what it means to sing hard rock material. Literally, he sounds like he's 30 years old here. He sounds as good as he used to back in the mid-late 70s. And like I said, he's in his mid-60s. So give this guy a lot of credit for cranking out one of the best albums of his career here. resonate by Glenn Hughes. And be on the lookout for a new Black Country Communion album in 2017. They're at it again. All right, so, we're talking about kind of the legacy acts, right? So Glenn Hughes, we're going to go to a band, a U.S. band, who've been around also since the early 70s, and who have been through a lot of change the last couple of years. Their lead singer retired not long ago. They've had various other members of the band retire, for various reasons, but they've decided to soldier on. They got themselves a new lead singer. They've got a new keyboard player, a new guitar player to join Rich Williams, Phil Eathart, and a couple other guys who've been in the band for a long, long time. We're talking about Kansas, the Prelude, Implicit. This is great U.S. progressive rock. This band has just been so good for so long. Carry On Wayward Son, Dust in the Wind, all those classic songs, unforgettable songs. They had a lot of really strong material in the 80s and the 90s. They haven't recorded a new album of studio material in like 16 years. Well, this harkens back to the classic Kansas sound. For the first time I heard this, I loved it. And the new lineup is so good. I urge you, if you have not checked this out, you need to. If you are a Kansas fan from back in the day, it's the classic sound. Obviously modernized, but it's the classic Kansas sound. Violins and the guitars and the keyboards and the great vocals, memorable songs. It's just really, really good. And this comes in at my number 4 of the year. All right, we're down to the final 3, the trio, okay? Now, one of the interesting things about doing a show like this, or coming up with a list like this, is that, at the beginning of the year, you got these albums that come out January and February, and you're like, wow, this is great, I love this, this is going to be one of the best of the year, right? Well, you still got a whole year that comes after. Sometimes those really killer albums that get released early in the year, you tend to kind of forget about as the year goes on because so much else comes about. You listen to them for a couple of months, and then all of a sudden you forget about them because, this came out or this came out, and it's like, you kind of forget about that. Well, the one album for me that came out very early in the year, that I totally got into, and I probably listened to nonstop till like the midsummer, but I didn't forget about, is the recent album from Sweden's Witchcraft. It's called Nucleus. Now, if you've been following our website for a bunch of years, you know that we're big fans of this band. They kind of do that kind of classic hard rock / doom type of thing. And, they've had some lineup changes. They're down to a trio now. They're on Nuclear Blast. And I really like this album a lot. It's kind of a little different. Some longer tunes, slow and heavy guitar riffs, images of Pentagram and Black Sabbath kind of come in, a little bit of the Doors, still really, really good. The riffs are killer. The tunes are great. Little bits of prog, little bits of kind of, classic hard rock, but it's still that doom metal framework. I just love the tunes that are on here, and I still can't get enough of this. I wish they would come over here and play some live shows. We'd love to see them, but Nucleus, carried over from early 2016, still strong today, number 3 of the year for me. All right, we're down to the final 2. So if you tuned into our show last week at Rock Fantasy, you heard a lot about this album. My buddy Ryan Scav, this was his number 1. Steve Keeler, I believe it was also his number 2, maybe 3. Showed up on a bunch of other. Nick Franco also had it in his top 10. For me, I don't really have a lot of history with this band. I've heard people talk about them a lot over the years. Always kind of checked out some of their stuff and said, yeah, it's pretty damn good, But when this one came out, I heard instant praise for it. And I said, I'm going to investigate that. Reviewed it on the website. Fell in love with it immediately. Of course, we are talking about the latest from Destroyer 666. Brian Scow mentioned last week, or was it Nick Franco? I think it was Nick Franco. Mentioned this is like the reign and blood of this generation of 2016. We're not far removed from it. These guys, it's a brutal album, but it's so well produced. It's so heavy. It's so immediate. It's so catchy. It's like the best of thrash and death metal and black metal and new wave of British heavy metal all thrown into one. Killer riffs. that's the guys right there. You know, they mean business. And again, it's one of those albums that when it first came out, I got totally into. And let me tell you, if you go to the gym and you work out at the gym and you like to play like kind of music that gets you motivated, this is the album for you. I'm telling you. So that is my number 2 of the year, Destroyer 666. So here we are. I've arrived at the number 1 album for me for 2016. And as you've heard from me in past years, it's not always about what is technically the best album. I've rated, what I'm going to show you or talk to you about here, I've rated other albums higher than this over the course of this year. But for me, it's what's the one record that I went back to more than any other? That even if there were other albums that came out that technically might have been better, a little more amazing, what's the one that was still amazing but kept me coming back over and over and over and over and over again, right? That's what it's all about. That's your favorite. For me, it's a band that I've loved for a long time, but they've gone through a lot of changes over the last couple of years. You know, they went from this kind of really, really cool avant-garde progressive death metal band to totally switch gears and leave all the extreme metal behind and switch into 70s style prog. Of course, I'm talking about Sweden's Opeth, right? And it's their latest album called Sorceress. You know, their last couple albums, since they've dropped all the death metal, left it behind, they've done this kind of weird, like kind of folky, avant-garde prog thing, which I've loved a lot. But I think this album kind of put it all together for me the best, because it encompasses like bits of like Deep Purple and Jethro Tull and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Uriah Heep, bands that I love, but it's still Opeth, you know, those great, like how Catherine Felt's vocals, stellar, the dual guitars, the wonderful keyboards, you know, just the memorable tunes, little bits of Beatles and psychedelia, you know, Jefferson Airplane, that sort of thing. A little bit of everything. Some Sabbath, a couple heavy tunes on here. But it's just, if you're a fan of 70s heavy music and progressive music, they've like kind of focused on it and just really done a great thing with it. And for me, it's the album that, like I said, I've just come back to the most this year. Came out in, what, September, I believe? Late September? And it's been like number 1 on my playlist since then. And for me, that makes the album of the year. And it's one of those ones that it's not going out of my rotation anytime soon. So that's it. So hope you enjoyed my top 10 of the year. If you go onto the website, like I mentioned before, you're going to get my top 50. Last week you heard my 20 through 11. And all sorts of cool stuff on there. And I want to make sure that I let all the bands that we've supported over the year know that even though you may not show up on my top 50 list or even some of our other writers in the site's list, we remember you. We appreciate everything you've done. We're in it for you guys. You know, we're here to promote the music of all the bands we represent, because we also want all of you at home to make sure that you're finding all the greatest music that's out there. So for all of us here at Sea Tranquility, it's been a great 2016 for music. So much good stuff come out this year. So make sure if there's anything that I've mentioned today or over the last many weeks that we've been doing this, or even on the website, go and check them out. Put them in your Amazon cart or wherever you order from, and investigate all the new stuff that's coming out by all these great bands that are all around the world. So till next year, 2017, which is only a week or so away, have a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Thanks for tuning in all year long. We'll be doing this again next year. So see us here on Facebook. On YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. And, of course, at www.seatranquility.org. Again, have a safe and happy holiday season. And we'll see you very, very soon. Take care.